Good morning, students. Today we'll be dealing with the MA Final, Paper 9, New Literature in English, Block 3. We'd be dealing with The Ice Candy Man, written by Bapsi Sidhwa. Bapsi Sidhwa was born on August 11, 1938. She was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and now is a resident of United States. An English writer of Parsi origin, she is known for her collaborative work with filmmaker Deepa Mehta for movies like Water. She was handicapped at the age of 2 because of polio, which affected her all her life. And we see that slight resemblance of this in the movie this 1947 Earth, or in this novel, Crackling India, or The Ice Candy Man. At the age of 9, she witnessed the scene of partition. In 1957, she completed her graduation from Kinnard College for Women in Lahore. At the age of 19, she married and moved to Mumbai for 5 years before she got divorced and remarried in Lahore with her present husband Naushir, who is also a Parsi. We'll be dealing with the Parsi identity also in this particular session. She had 3 children before she took up the career of an author. Residing in Houston, US, she described herself as a Punjabi Parsi Pakistani. She taught at the University of Houston, Rice University, Columbia University, and others. There were a lot of awards and fellowships that she had got, like Bounting Fellowship at Radcliffe, Harvard in 1986. She's been a visiting scholar at Rockefeller Foundation Center, Bellagio, Italy in 1991. Sitara-e-Imtiaz, Pakistan's highest national honor in arts, was awarded to her in 1991. Leela Wallace Reader's Digest Writers Award in 1947. Premio Mondial for Foreign Authors for Water in 2007, and inducted in the Zoroastrian Hall of Fame in the year 2000. She's done a variety of works like their Language of Love, Jungle Wala Sahib, it's a translation from Urdu, City of Sin and Splendor, Writings on Lahore, The Water, a novel, Bapsi Sidhwa Omnibus, An American Brat, Crackling India originally was published as The Ice Candy Man. The Bride published as The Pakistani Bride and The Crow Eaters. Now moving on to The Ice Candy Man. Bapsi Sidhwa's novel Ice Candy Man deals with the partition of India and its aftermath. This is the first novel by a woman novelist from Pakistan in which she describes about the fate of people in Lahore. The central characters in the play are Lenny, the Ayya Shanta, and the Ice Candy Man. The story is told from the first person narration and from a child's perspective. The fact that Sidhwa suffered from polio, as I mentioned earlier, and witnessed partition of the subcontinent with her own eyes makes this narration a realistic event. When the novel opens, we find her parents are quite well off as they live in a big house on Warris Road. We also see that the novel starts with Iqbal's poetry on complaint to God. Now, in the novel, she has a brother Adi who is 1 year and a month younger than her. As Lenny's right leg is afflicted with polio, she is pampered by everyone, everywhere. Because of her limp, we see that her movement is restricted and limited. She doesn't go anywhere alone, and it's always her Ayya Shanta. She's 18 years old, who takes care of Lenny, and she treats her like her own sister. Lenny is a frequent visitor to her godmother's place and Electric Aunt's house, the zoo, and other places from time to time. But Lenny, however, loves visiting her godmother the most. Now, Ayya Shanta has such stunning looks that she draws glances from everyone, be it the beggars on the street, be it the holy men, the hawkers, the cart drivers, the cooks, the coolies, everyone turn their heads as she passes. Even the Englishmen, we see the Englishmen are not able to resist her magnetic charm. But the real admirers of Shanta are the people with whom she gathers in the garden or in the zoo to have a talk with. Like we see the hotel cook, the gardener, the monsieur, the ice candy man, Sharbat Khan Ramzana, Imam Deen, and Sher Singh. We see that all these people constitute to a microcosm in this particular novel. Now, Lenny observes and she learns about the social changes and the human behavior from these people around her. As we mentioned before, that her world is restricted and she's not allowed to move too much. So we see it here. And she sees interesting things and she seeks and listens to opinions and occasionally makes judgment once in a while. Now, the device of a child narrator, the narration which we see over here is from the child's perspective, enables Bapsi Sidhwa to treat a historical moment as horrifying as partition without morbidity and censure. Now, if we see about the partition of India, we see that a lot of people had suffered, and the majority of people who suffered the most was women and children. Uh, they were taken to be the most of the sufferers over here. Moving on, Ice Candy Man is a novel which shows the pre-partition and the post-partition world. We see it, we see a division of this thing in the novel here. Before how people behaved and after what had happened. Now the suitors of Ayya are people of different faith. They were Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs. Yet they all lived together amicably in the spirit of unity characterizing the pre-partitioned India. This is what we see there. The Monsieur and Ice Candy Man are Ayya's most favorite. She spends a lot of time with them. The Monsieur massages Ayya under her sari, and the Ice Candy Man lets his toe crawl along her leg and sometimes even to her private parts. She sometimes asks Monsieur to massage her legs and Ice Candy Man to give her popsicles for free. Now Lenny is like a typical child. She knows how to get something from someone. So we see it over here that when her legs are paining, she would ask the Monsieur to please help me by massaging my legs. And when she is with the ice candy man, she would say, give me an ice candy or something. So just like a typical child. Now we see that Bapsi Sidhwa slowly and steadily brings in the element of partition. It's through the child narrator, and it's Lenny when she has nightmares about soldiers and being dismembered while her godmother is stroking her head. All these are signs of impending disaster. Let me use the word vivisection of India, the division of India. It's all beginning of that. And through these little dreams, we come to know that there's something going to happen. Another nightmare that Lenny has is that of a zoo lion breaking loose and sinking his fangs into her stomach. As I said, these are all foreshadows of the impending disaster and cruelty during the times of partition. The things in Lahore, the place where this entire novel or the drama or the action takes place, is in Lahore. In Lahore, things are changing from bad to worse. The impact of the struggle for power between the Congress and the Muslim League can be seen in the behavior of common men, the way they discuss. Like we see that the friendly discussions in the Queen's Park takes on a communal color. The gardener tries to assuage the bitterness by holding English responsible for the rift between the Hindus and the Muslim. Now, a very common thing that we see or when we read the partition based novels and all this, if it's an Indian author, he would always blame that the Pakistanis or the Muslims are responsible. When we read it from the perspective of the Muslims, we see that they blame it on the Indians. Uh, the Britishers always take a neutral stand that we didn't want it; these people wanted to do it themselves. So that's let's leave that, and let's move on. Now, even though these friendly talks, or let me say, these little things are happening over there, the air, instead of getting clearer, it becomes more confusing. Everywhere there's talk that India is going to be divided, like we see like we see if you see in the movie 1947 Earth, we see the little girl dropping down the plate, and she says, "How is anybody going to divide India? Is this how the division is going to take place?" Sorry. And there's constant reference that is being made to Gandhi, Jinnah, Nehru, Iqbal, Tara Singh, and Mountbatten. Now, Lenny suddenly becomes aware of religious differences. She notices the change in the behavior of people around her. Like Ayya starts visiting the temples, Imam Din and Yusuf turn into religious zealots, and they take Friday afternoons off for the Jummah prayers. The Sharmas and the Daulatram flaunt their caste marks. The caste and religious difference having come to the fore, discriminating behavior becomes more obvious. We see that Ice Candyman suddenly starts posing as a messenger from God, or let's see, like he says that he is like a messenger of God. Now, there are a few things I would like to say that Bapsi Sidwan again highlights some more incidents of atrocities in the novel. She described that the sick people sitting on the rail tracks waiting for the train to come. They wait there, and it says that they have their hair all open and they with the swords in their hand, they are sitting over there. And it also says that the the knife sharpener, he said that I have never seen so many knives over here in Lahore. I never knew that it came in so many shapes and all these things. And during the consequent carnage in the novel, the Sikhs kill and rape helpless women. The whole depiction of is blood curdling and shows the brutality unleashed by Sikhs on the vulnerable victims. As the sun of the British Empire begins to set on the Indian subcontinent, the communal frenzy has a distorting effect on the people and leads to feeling of suspicion, distrust, and susceptibility to rumors. Now, Lenny, who used to go out with Aya once in a while, now she has been restricted at home. Her parents and everyone tell her not to go out. And deprived of these long drives, Lenny and her cousin are intrigued at the movements of their mother. They wonder why suddenly everything is changing. Why are people mumbling all the time? What are they whispering all the time? And adding to that, Aya, Shanta, enhances the sense of mystery when she states that the dicky of the car is full of cans of petrol. And the child starts wondering, why why the dicky full of petrol? Are they supplying it to someone else to cause this chaos in the city, to burn things and all that? We see that finally India is divided and a new nation, Pakistan, comes into existence. As Lahore has been dealt to Pakistan, it is no longer a safe place for the Hindus and Sikhs. Most of them, especially the rich one, have already fled. And those who have stayed behind are determined to ride out the storm while others are preparing for a showdown. We see a lot of uh, bloodbath during these times, and it's clearly visible in the novel if you read that. Both sides are getting their knives and choppers, daggers and axes, everything sharpened to to prepare for the oncoming battle or the onslaught. As we said earlier, that that the knife sharpener, he tells to his friends, or he speaks to his friends, that I've never seen so many knives out here, or knives or swords out here in Lahore, and they come in so many shapes. He says that clearly. The government house gardener feels completely dismayed and disillusioned. He goes to Delhi, where he has already sent his family. The hotel cook also runs away from Lahore. Now you see people suddenly changing sides. By sides, I mean changing their caste or religion. The people who once were firm believers now have suddenly started seeking refuge in other religions. Like we see Hari gets his bodhi shaved, becomes a Muslim, and he acquires a new name, Himmat Ali. Moti becomes David Masih, and he and his family converts to Christianity. Thus, all of Lenny's friends and acquaintances, it is only Ayya, the only one who remains a Hindu or stands her ground and still lives in Lahore. But one day, the Monsieur, the one with whom she is in love, he is killed, and we kind of suspect that it is the ice candy man. Somewhere down the line, we know that. His mutilated body is discovered in a gunny sack by Hari, or now the new name, Himmat Ali and Lenny. Ayya is terribly shocked at the news of his death. She stops receiving visitors. She now trusts no one. And with Lenny, she visits all those places where she had earlier gone with the Monsieur. The ice candy man, he follows them everywhere without their knowledge. He's like a spy, or he's following the movement. Every place they go, he kind of hides and sees them. Now, a change suddenly comes over Ice Candyman as well. He joins a gang of hoodlums, and he's always out to ransack the abandoned houses. We see that he has changed, or this partition has not just changed him in his mental attitude, but also we see that he has started looting now. He wipes out the nameplates on the gates of Hindus and Sikhs present in Lahore. And one day, these, these people, or the gang of hoodlums, these people zero in on Lenny's house, mistaking it for a Hindu house. Why mistaking? Well, because Lenny and her family are Parsis. Now these people, they query or they ask about Hari and Moti, because people out there, they knew that they are Hindus. Now they ask about Hari and Moti, but they are disappointed. They are disappointed to learn that Hari has become a Muslim and Moti a Christian. And then out of the blue, somebody asked for Shanta. Where is Shanta the Ayya? The people of the house say that she is not here, she has already left. And just when the crowd is about to leave, this ice candy man appears on the scene. He cajoles Lenny into telling the truth about Ayya's whereabouts and gets her forcibly carried off. We see in the novel that Shanta is literally dragged out of the house and she's taken away. She is gang raped and then taken to Hira Mandi, the red light district of Lahore, where she is made to serve as a dancing girl come prostitute. She's sexually exploited even by Imam Deen, the butcher, the ice candy man, whom she always counted among friends. You see that suddenly friends have changed. You don't know whom to trust. At the end of 3 months, Ice Candy Man marries Shanta. Now she has a new name. She goes by the name Mumtaz. Now, there's an incident where Ayya meets the godmother of Lenny, and then Ayya pleads that she will not live there anymore and that she has to escape from there. The godmother asks her to think over it, but Ayya or Mumtaz insists of going back to her relatives in Amritsar. The visitors return after assuring Ayya that she will be rescued. By visitors, I mean the godmother. After her visit to Hira Mandi, godmother contacts the government machinery. Now we see in the novel that she is a lady who has hold. She has hold here and there. She is a powerful lady. And we even see the ice candy man bowing down and crying before the godmother when the godmother is scolding him. And we see that one day, one of the days after the godmother had left, the police party comes to Hira Mandi and takes away Ayya from the ice candy man. And she's put into this woman's camp at Waris Road, which is well guarded. The ice candy man visits the camp to see his beloved but is beaten up badly by the sick sentry. Now, Ice Candy Man has become a dejected, wandering lover searching for his lost love. One day, Lenny learns that Aya has been shifted to Amritsar with her family. Ice Candy Man has also followed her across the Wagah border into India to pursue his love. As we say that love knows no boundary. So we see this man going to that extent also. From the from we see a change in persona. He is the one who brought her out of the house, or let me say, he is the one who uh, cajoled little Lenny to tell the truth. The Aya is raped because of this man, and now this man marries her, and when she is taken away because she is not happy with him, he follows her back. We see him as a different character. He's a mysterious character. Now the novel ends on this sad and tragic note. If we discuss about this novel a little more, this novel contains a lot of poignant scenes along with scenes of murder and violence. It is a novel uh, masterful. It is a masterful work of history, and it relates political events through the eyes of a child who doesn't know anything about politics. And we see the child thinking. We see her repenting, or when we read in the text that she stands in front of the mirror and she holds her tongue out trying to take it out, and she calls her tongue a serpent. And then we also see that the ice candy man, he is person who has many faces, or many, he wears a mask every time over his face. We don't know exactly what he's thinking and what he really is. And the novel deals with the bloody partition of India through the eyes of girl Lenny growing up in a Parsi family, surviving through female bonding and rebellion. Besides the story of these individual characters, the story of a nation is taking shape in the background. We see that people always discussing about what is going to happen and how things are going to proceed, which place is going where, like is Lahore going to India side, or is Lahore going to Pakistan side, and all these things we see over there. We see a new nation taking shape over there. And India is on the verge of partition, and Bapsi Sidhwa, in her novel, has unraveled the impact of impending partition. We see that in the novel, as I mentioned earlier, in the session, that the dreams, the dreams that Lenny has, the soldiers coming and brutally taking her away, and the lion pouncing on her, and all these things are signs of an impending disaster. And we see that the Parsi community, the community which was uh, in minority during those days in Pakistan, we even see about that. Now, Parsi community has a history of taking a neutral stand. Let me say that because we see that the mother tells the child that we are like sugar in milk. That's what she says. Now, The community has a history of mixing within the cultural landscape of place like sugar in milk, but with an event as large as a partition looming large in front of their eyes, they could not remain totally detached from the fanatism of communal politics being played out in front of them. One of the most powerful characters, uh, besides the Ice Candy Man, of course, uh, in this book is, in fact, the Parsi matriarch Rodabai, Lenny's godmother, who represents a very firm and progressive facade of Farsi women in the pre and post partition society. We see that. And of course, the other character, Ayya, being a Hindu, residing in Lahore, was was one of those daring things that she could have ever done during this time of partition, when everything was going on topsy turvy. She decided to stay back, and whatever happened with her, or let me say, whatever suffering she had, or whatever good came in her life, that little salvation came to her through Lenny's godmother. We see that Lenny's godmother helping this lady out. When Shanta's own friends turned against her, nobody stood for her. The person whom, or the person who loved her the most, even that person, let me say, betrayed her. This old lady stood by her. That, that is a strong character. And there are strong autobiographical tones in the novel for Sidhwa, because from Sidhwa we see that, as I said earlier, the limp in the leg, we see that Lenny has the same thing. So it's kind of autobiographical, and we can identify that with the narrator of the novel. The narrator dwells not only on one but many issues. We just don't see the partition of India. We see that issues are like political and communal and sexual as well. And this lady, this little narrator, did a wonderful job reflecting or showing people the female condition during the partition. If we have ever read Sadat Hasan Manto's Open It, we see the character being raped over there, and when she is brought into this dispensary to be taken care of or to be treated, the moment the doctor says open it, we see a total different figure. We see a very poor figure over there. We realize that what a frenzy it could have been, what those days would have been during partition. People killing each other, you cannot trust anyone, you cannot hide anywhere. The people whom you called your friends at one time were now your enemies. You could not trust anyone. We see the same thing reflected in many of the short stories that we have read most of the time. For example, the confusion which was created, the confusion in another story of Sadat Hasan Manto's Toba Teek Singh, as to which place do I belong to. We see all these things. We see all these things in the novels and short stories based on partition. And one thing we always wonder is, why do people bring bring this to the front again and again? We have already dealt with partition. Why again and again bringing this in the front? Why should we discuss it? Because that's the truth. And sometimes the truth can be bitter. Now, moving on. The character of Ice Candy Man had been one of the most interesting and complex characters in fiction. He is something like Iago of Othello, and his psychology has been the toughest to decode, the toughest of all. Reason being, because we do not know what he is going to do next, or why has he done so. We even see him defending himself in front of the godmother, saying that I married her, and he keeps on saying, I married her. She's been accepted back to my family. But if he had really loved her, as the godmother says, will he had done the thing what he had done? We we dealt with this novel on different aspects, on the characters. We had discussed on the character, the the partition time, the how partition has been shown through the eyes of a child, the child narrative, and all that. And hope this helps you out.